Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky. Today, I am super excited to welcome to the show Nikki Star Child. How are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you so much. I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me on, Tommy. I just am super excited with your YouTube channel. And I saw you had Preston Dennett, and I'm just excited to sit down and talk UFOs with a new friend. So thank you so much for inviting me and
That's
taking the time out of your
awesome.
day to have this interview.
Oh, thank you. So it's an honor. I've been watching your show. Absolutely awesome. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about your show and what got you into these wild conversations that we have?
Yeah, so my show goes live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and around noon at your time. And it happens in the morning, and we just try to cover relevant UFO information and news that's currently happening, because it does happen on a daily basis. And a lot of people don't really think that or see that, but once you start following it along, it kind of makes sense. And so in a lot of the ways, it feels like it's kind of its own little disclosure movement, right? Like all the people. Um, and currently, right now, I'm working on a documentary, like a little amateur one. And I called it hashtag UFO Twitter, a UFO subculture. And what I do is I go through all of the podcasts, all the people I've talked over in the last 3 years, and I've encapsulated it into a documentary that's going to be coming out July 26th
Oh,
on
wow.
my show. And I think I'll probably get copyright hit by somebody because people are crazy, but it'll always be on Rumble, and there will always be a link in all my descriptions to go to it, because it's kind of like the capstone of what I've been working on and whatever I'm flowing in creatively. And there's always been like a lot of stress, like we were talking about before, with just like kind of trying to make it a smooth transition in ufology. There's a lot of hectic energies in ufology, probably because it's such a mysterious topic. Because you get people who are like, yes, the aliens are here. And then you got others who are like, they're not here. That's just the nature of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so those energies are kind of harsh sometimes. So I try to balance it by going and making other content. Like I really do. I like filming rivers stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
Yeah.
more and more I get into UFOs, the more I'm like, I want to go film a river or something. But the mystery really brought me because I used to do CE5. I think I would say I used to be way more woo than I am now. And it was about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Every I was on like the Stephen Greer mailing list, and every month he's like, it's CE5 Global Initiative Day this Saturday, right? So everybody go in their backyard and try to talk to the aliens, right? So I do it, like, all right, yeah, right, yeah. So I go there and meditate. And one day I saw, maybe I'm just gonna go with it. One day I saw an orb
Mhm.
in the sky, okay? And I'm just like, no one's gonna believe you if you don't take a picture. Right? So I'm sitting there looking at this orb while I did, and yeah, I'm just gonna go with what I felt then and not second guess it. I'll just tell you how I felt in that moment. I was like sitting there looking up, and I was like, what is that? Because I was thinking about peace and love, and it was right up there. And I started like having a conversation with it. And then I was like, okay, you got to let me take a picture. And I said, if you let me take a picture, I'll put it on the internet. That's when I told the aliens in the CE5, I have no idea what's going on in this moment, right? But I get a picture. I don't know. I promised these fake entities that I would put it on the internet. These entities I just made up and took a photo of. And so I put it up. I made a little 5 minute, 6 minute video. It's on my channel still. And that was kind of like the first of it. And then slowly being brought into it. And I never wanted to talk about aliens online. I really enjoyed my colorful crafting channel. Like I've really used aliens, especially as the fantasies faded for me more. It used to be like a really fantasy sort of like fun world to be in. and it's not invited. Like that kind of energy just isn't invited in ufology. They don't want people to show up and have a party. They don't want like the colorful. It appears it just they just want it dark and drab and super serious. And my theory about it is like no one takes you seriously anyway.
Mhm.
Sorry guys, like we can sit here and pretend like everybody in your family's like, "Oh yeah, we take your ufology stuff seriously." They don't. They think you're crazy. They think it's ridiculous. And by the time it all comes out, they're gonna be like, "We already knew that. Of course we already knew they were aliens. The angels are demons." Like that's what your father's gonna tell you when it comes out, or whoever, you know. And so that also became a thing. And then in 2013, I saw a craft hovering. I saw a craft. I'm in a city where we're near Kirtland Air Force Base. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Kirtland Air Force Base. Richard Doty lives here. Linda Moulton Howe lives here. We're just like covered in alien world. And
Yeah, that's a
sometimes
hot
that's
spot.
why I think, yeah, sometimes I think that's why I'm here because like I actually don't have any living relatives here anymore except my husband and my daughter, which are kind of like an extension of me. Like I don't really, they come with me everywhere regardless when you're like a little family unit, right?
Yeah.
But like I'm just kind of like dropped in New Mexico, it feels like to be here. And so 2013, right, we're near Kirtland Air Force Base in the city in general. And this was before I had learned anything about back engineered extraterrestrial technology or anything like that. And this was shortly, I'm trying to think. I had that 2013, and then I think actually the CE5. Anyway, so I saw a triangular craft going darting away from Kirtland Air Force Base and it just disappeared and it screwed with me. And I know it screwed with me on a level because I called the news station and I said, I just saw a craft. And they just laughed at me like crazy. They're like, ha ha ha. And they hung up. Yeah, dude, this is the norm. I went to all my friends and family. I think my mom believed me just because she's my mom. She was like, yeah, right. She's not here anymore, but I think she believed me. And and then like, yeah,
What did it?
everybody was like,
How
"You're
big was the
crazy."
craft? Have you seen that
I
craft
would say
since, like in pictures or anything like that?
yes. And that's where the obsession starts to come in. This is where this is when it started. And so I think that was actually first was 2013. I think it was like 2, 3 years later that I saw whatever I saw in the sky. Maybe it was a balloon. I'm not. The orb phenomenon is just too weird, dude. The orb phenomenon is just so weird.
Yeah.
I saw orbs. I should just run on that so I can get more interviews. Yes, Tommy. The orb talked to me.
Well, I was gonna.
And then I prayed, and another one popped up, Tommy. I just suck at lying. I would
That's
grift
cool.
it all the way to the top if I could, but like I can't get myself to. I could get myself into that fantastical state of mind and tell you, Tommy, like the angel told me to tell you, Tommy, that day. I don't do that though, because I don't know. So I get very
Mhm.
frustrated when people like Bledsoe come forward and they're like, I saw a light in the sky and I know it's totally me and I prayed and everybody's going with this and they're putting it on Fox News. That's ridiculous. Even I look at my orb story and I could take that to another level. I could embellish it. I have a photo on top of it. I have a photo, Tommy, and I don't embellish my CE5 story to I disregard it and I say I don't know, but this is what happened,
Yeah.
but
Did you
that's not
feel
what people want to
when
listen
you were
to.
seeing when you were looking at the orb and you were saying, "I'm going to share your picture" and stuff like that? Did you feel a connection? Did you feel like that
Yes.
was okay?
Yes, if we want to get all hippy dippy, we can
Yeah,
real
let's
quick.
go. Let's go. You're on. Let's get
You want to go
freaky.
to the 5D? We're gonna go 5D. Because this is where Bledsoe lives. Bledsoe lives in the 5D. Here's the 3D, right?
Hmm.
People don't like what Bledsoe says because he's in the 5D and he's got no freaking proof to bring to the 3D. You know what I
Yeah.
mean when I say 5D?
Can you sort of can you explain that to any listeners and myself that might not fully know?
Yeah, so right, we got first, second, third degree, third
Yeah.
dimension. Fourth dimension's time.
Hmm.
Fifth dimension is when the veil is lifted. All the other things. Maybe that's where all the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
When you talk to the hippies and the people who talk to aliens and 5D, that's where we all chill. The 5D. So like we can get into the 5D talk because I call it the 5D talk because frequently when you have these conversations with people, they'll talk about how they're having a spiritual connection, a spiritual download, or a screen, or like a, so anyway, my 5D comes down, and I could say that this is legit from what I've talked to with people about this meditation. But there's a part in my mind that's like, I'm not going to jump to say this was what really happened, right?
Hmm.
I'm not going to jump and say that this is, but I've talked to people who are telepathically communicating with the aliens, and they tell me that it's exactly like this. So here we go. Like I said, I could go and say I talk to the aliens. I could go and say I see orbs all the time, but I question it.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
should.
there's nothing wrong with that.
We
Yeah,
will lose our sanity. We will lose our sanity.
100%.
And the longer I'm in this, the more important it is to me that I find some sort of basis for reality.
Hmm.
And it freaks me out more and more. And I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
but there's
I think
nothing
it's
wrong
actually
with.
made me.
There's nothing wrong with trying to rationalize what you see. And like, I've seen some wild stuff that I just, to this day, I can't explain what it was. I know it was wild. I know it was something out of this world or whatever it was, another realm. But, I do still try and I say think rationally because you don't know. But I get what you're saying,
You have
basically.
to.
Yeah.
You have to. And I think a lot of this also has to do with the fact that my father grew up with a young lady in Omaha, Nebraska, who they were like next door neighbors. They played and stuff. They went camping and stuff. Anyway, she grew up and she was part of the Heaven's Gate cult. And so she killed herself while she was in the Heaven's Gate cult. That cult ran by Marshall Applegate back in LA or whatever. And they all killed
Wow.
themselves, and they came in, they all had the triangles on them because they drink the Kool-Aid. And
Yeah.
so they all thought they were going to get on the spaceship to Hale-Bot and like go, and like, no, that's actually sad. And
Hmm.
that's actually something we should talk about, is like manipulating people with spirituality. Because not only does it happen in religion, right? Like it also happens in this 5D alien spiritual world. It's manipulation. Like, and you see it happen in Christian religion, like all the time, at least from my experience of what I've seen, just the coercion and the idea that you're not allowed to think anything outside the box. And if you have any data or information that might somehow shake up their worldview, they just don't like it, right? And they want to shut it down. And it's the same thing if you start really resonating with that spiritual, you got to look out for manipulation like anywhere you go. So here's my story. Now that we've covered all the bases, have
Yeah.
escaped, blah, blah, blah. I'm not crazy. Don't start my cult. I don't want to start a cult. But in this deep meditation, and I had shared this conversation with Angeli, who went to Washington, D.C. She's a former national defense intelligence analyst, and she met extraterrestrials in a mountain, I think in Arizona. And she believed it so much, she went to Washington, D.C. and did a press conference. She got tons and tons of coverage on it. So she came on my show. She was on Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. She was like on all of them. And it was crazy. It was a crazy time. So I told her this story, and she was like, that sounds legit. So the lady who went to Washington, okay. So I was meditating and I was listening to Stephen Greer meditation. It all comes back to Stephen Greer. Oh, Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer. I was listening to Stephen Greer meditation, and I found myself on a planet. And the planet was barren, and there was no one there. It was almost, but it was like a giant desert, but there was no life on the planet. But I don't know, I was breathing. Somehow I was able to be there. And this giant extraterrestrial pops up, and she's got big eyes. Her head is like this. Her name is Sita or C2. She tells me her name, which actually is strange because it turns out to be a goddess after like I leave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a type of goddess. I didn't know that either. And Sita or C2, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure And I realized that afterwards. So I'm sitting here and she's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Hey, good to see you." Blah, 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 blah. We're talking. And she keeps talking about how she doesn't have that much time to talk to me. And I'm like, okay. And we're looking and she's showing me the planet. And she says, no one lives on this planet. She doesn't have hair. She has kind of like a non-gendered robe, but the maternal, loving energy is insane from her. I don't feel scared. I don't feel worried. I don't feel fearful. I feel protected. And I feel like I've been brought here to say hi to her or whatever. And so she's showing me this planet and she says, this is where I go to like get my energy from. Like I hang out on this planet to like get my energy so that I can help others. And I was like, okay. And I said, well, what do I need to know? Right? Like, why am I here? Like, what's going on? And she gives me like this hug. And I still remember what it feels like. It's like really weird, warm embrace. And she says, you need to go back and show them love. And this was way before I started the show, way before all of it. And I was like, what? Show them love. And she was like, but now we got to go. She's like, I'm on a time crunch. I have to go to the next person. Like she had,
Wow.
like she had appointments lined up.
Hmm.
So she was done with me and she was going to go to the next appointment. And it was always in my mindset that like she was getting people to astral project one after the other to go have conversations with her because she's just this wise sage on this abandoned planet that people
Wow.
go to kind of get. And so that's what she said, go show them love. So this huge maternal, womanly energy. Yeah. Um, and so yeah, that was pretty transformative, especially being in this crazy UFO, world. I just try so hard to be positive to everyone that I
Hmm.
meet and really just try to bring up the whole community. I love content creators. I love creativity. I love making things. Um, but yeah, showing love, which is damn, like that's love is always the
Yeah.
best answer to everything though,
That's
too. That's what I thought after the meditation. I was like, come on.
it
That's what they
is.
do at the end of every Christmas movie too.
Yeah, for sure. It
Love.
is. It is so important. It is the most important thing. I know I sound like a hippie myself now, but if
Yes.
if everyone showed
Nah,
love,
hippies are great.
yeah, hippies are great. If everyone showed
Mhm.
love, the world would be a much better place. If everyone projected love, of course it would be. It is very important. That does seem
It's
to be the
hard.
message a lot of the time. Sorry, my Siri's just come up. Siri, go
Oh no,
away.
you're fine. Oh, I didn't hear
It
anything.
does that.
Um,
I was talking to my phone now
yeah,
as
I
well.
think
Sorry about that.
I think the love could transform. I think the love could transform humanity,
Yeah,
right? Like, and I think the love could transform. I always think about that.
yeah,
Like I gave up the news because I'm like a news junkie, or I was before COVID or before the pandemic, excuse my French, before whatever the heck we call it. It's
yeah.
fine. I use that word all the time. There will be no issues. Don't worry, Tommy.
No,
They
it's
don't
cool.
because it's something that like happens standard. They can't just like censor out the standard things.
No, yeah, for
Like
sure.
that never
Yeah,
happened, right? Like so
yeah.
you can't they
We
won't
can't
do
pret-
anything with
we
that, I
can't pretend
promise.
that that wild period that we all went through was just a a mad moment in time. Where it was absolutely wild.
Yeah. And we could talk about, censorship in a way that like I know it's not gonna get your channel hit. I can't remember where we were going 'cause the censorship thing with
We was
love, love,
hippies, love.
love,
Yeah.
hippies. And aliens and hippies have a strong connection.
Hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
of people don't know that, but like once you go deep into these hippie towns, they'll be like, I'm talking to the aliens. Stephen Greer was here last week. That happened to me. I have a friend up in Crestone, Colorado, and Stephen Greer would go do his CE5 initiatives up there.
Yeah.
So all these hippies up there were always talking to aliens. And I'm
Yeah.
like, how do you know, right? Like, how do you know? Well, you know. You know if you know. If you're really talking to the aliens, then you really know. It's like, do you really know? I don't
It's
know.
it's
But
difficult. It's like with like um certain hallucinogenics and things like that. People can connect. That's something that happens. Seems to happen quite a lot. Connect with whatever these beings are. There seems to be a connection there as well.
The beings, yeah. And they're there, right? Like the beings are, they are there. And I think that's why I try to be so open and like, hey, you guys, like there's a lot of things that I don't believe in myself that have happened. Like I've had people come up and tell me the most amazing stories I've ever heard in my life. And this is someone who, like, they're my friend and I know them and I know their family and they look so normal, but like they also were in my labs and they also, in the middle of the night, were taken to schools and, did MK Ultra and like,
Oh
I don't
man.
know. I've met the most interesting people and you hear all these things. And so, like, I try to just be open minded. I
Hmm.
try to just like hold it, like, I hold my own experiences. And at the end of it, a lot of the time, it's like, well, I don't know, right? Which is why I do like being in this 3D realm a little bit
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
where we got like all these people talking about it and all these people who would never touch the 5D realm. And they do that on purpose. They don't want to talk about that, even though that's kind of like a huge component
100%.
of
Yeah.
it. And as you know, people love me, hate me, I don't care. I love Tucker. I love
Tucker
Tucker
Carlson.
Carlson so
Yeah.
much.
I do as well, man. I do.
You don't have
I,
to.
no, I do.
It's
I do. I think he's great. He says it as he sees it,
it's
and
great,
I've got a lot of
man.
respect for that.
Oh,
You
I
know.
love him so much. I love him so much. Yes, because he throws down rational
Hmm.
truth. And I think he's the smartest person in the mainstream media that probably knows about this topic. So
Hmm.
when I'm looking for real, verifiable information for me to ground myself on this topic, like if it was all BS, why would I stick around, right?
Hmm.
Like there's
Yeah,
also
for sure.
that. Like if you get into this and you're like, God, I don't think this guy's seen Sasquatch. Man, I don't think this person's seen an alien. You just go after interview after interview after interview. You're like, well, why don't you just, give me the implant then? Like after, you kind of you have to really believe that there's something there. Um, okay, where was I? I can't remember. We were
Tucker
talking about
Carlson.
it. I go on rant. Thank you. And Tucker Carlson. But that's the kind of the fun thing about having these conversations is it's good to connect those. Like, 'cause we're talking 5D and then you go 3D, which he has all the 3D information, right? So
Hmm.
what is it about Tucker Carlson that convinces me to keep studying it? And it's that, like, in a lot of recent interviews, he says, I stepped away from it. I learned that it wasn't something I wanted to be close to because it was just too weird. It was too
Hmm.
freaky. He said he didn't want to tell his wife about what he had learned. He said he had gone and talked to a bunch of people, and he's not just talking to like, he's talking to like Lou Elizondo. He's going straight to Christopher Mellon. He's talking to all these people on the phone,
Yeah.
trying to get an understanding as to what's going on. He even in his intelligent mind, he's like, is this a disinformation agent? He wants nothing to do with the UFO community. We're a bunch of Tucker Carlson wants nothing to do with the UFO community. That is not who he's going to put his authority onto. And the one thing that he said that we really do need to think about is right now there's currently lawsuits going through the VA of families who have lost their loved ones to UAP injury. So these families, I don't know if they know it's UAP, but I do know that there's currently actively lawsuits going through the VA of families who don't know how their family members died,
Wow.
which is kind of interesting.
That is
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean that's real. And Tucker Carlson says it comes from the UAP brain damage. Have you heard of this
No.
not theory, this reality?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So Gary Nolan, Dr. Gary Nolan, he's a Stanford geneticist. And he's been in the UFO world for quite a bit. And he was just hanging out at Stanford one day, and the CIA came in and asked him if they could use his brain machine because he was the only person in the world that had this brain machine. And they showed him all this documentation of veterans who had gotten brain damage when they encountered a UAP. So, yes. And so Tucker, everybody's kind of like picking up on this, right? And they're like, okay, that's actually a real thing that's out there. Like people are getting damage from UAP, however you want to take that. And
Yeah.
this damage that they're getting from UAP, these families that are loosely associated, they're trying to get information from the government, like, how did my loved one die? And they aren't telling them. So you have to ask yourself, like, okay, that's definitively hiding something, right?
Hmm.
And the other thing that Tucker Carlson says that scares the sweet bejesus out of me and literally makes me want to go back to church, makes me want to get better at going to the pulpit with my family. I'm the one that's always like, no, I'm cool. I'm gonna do a podcast. Bye, guys. But Tucker says that, he's talked to a lot of people. Elon says that he doesn't see any UFOs coming in and out of the
Hmm.
atmosphere. And Tucker thinks that this is an ancient thing. And
Yeah.
if you look at, I mean, that's not him saying that. We know that. Ancient aliens, all this stuff. We know that this is a long standing topic that surpasses our tiny little minuscule lives. We're
Hmm.
just trying
Yeah.
to put it together after hundreds of generations of us interacting with this phenomenon. So it's a very old story of like whatever's going on. And I just think our lifetimes as humans are so small. We've
Hmm.
taken a long time to try to weave this tapestry together, all the way from like, back when the Anunnaki and all this stuff. It's been going on forever. We're just trying to figure it out. I don't think we can live long enough to figure it out
Yeah. Yeah.
because, information dies. Information dies when people die. The atrophy of knowledge, right? If you or I figured out the cure of cancer, but you or I was the only one who knew, and you were the only one who knew, and we both died, there goes the cure
It's
of
gone.
cancer, the
Yeah.
atrophy of knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild. So what he's saying is that a lot of, and I'm just making this very simple. He's saying that the aliens or these entities, they're not necessarily from outer space, from other worlds, that they are here among us, and they've always been here. And it's a very much a spiritual battle that's going on right now. And it is scary. Some of the stuff that when you hear it from someone like that, that talks to the people he talks to, that's done the things he's done, it is wild, you know, as you were saying. So
Yeah,
it's
it all
very
gives you,
interesting
yeah, it is. And I have a lot of respect for the ancient texts of the
for
Bible,
sure.
of all of the Quran, of any ancient text that has, read it. Look at it,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we don't know, right? The Tao Te Ching, that's another really great one. The Art of War, ancient texts, the knowledge is in the ancient text, right?
Hmm.
So to hear somebody who I see as one of the most intelligent people with the topic say that they don't, that it's dark and it's been around for a long time. Whoa.
Hmm.
Whoa, like what are we dealing with,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
I just it's too it, either spirit, and he's so religious that like it's hard to think that maybe it's just his religion that shapes him to think that way, right? But I don't know. There's a lot of truth to it, and it seems like it's validated his faith more. I
Yeah.
know it's freaked me out a little bit more. Like if they're demons, well, dang, like they could be having a spiritual warfare over ourselves. And actually, like I had the Q man on.
Hmm.
I'll make it brief. We won't talk about it long.
That's
But like
cool.
he was big on, because he's a shaman, right? He
Hmm.
was big on, and that was the thing when he went to the Capitol buildings, he says that the Capitol building was on a ley line. So that's why he went. Um, and he was saying that there's a spiritual war
Yeah,
going on over our souls. And that makes sense. There's a
yeah, for
spiritual
sure.
war. So I've been getting into like near death experiences quite a bit lately. Um, but those are always a trip for me. And the one thing I noticed recently with the near death experiences is how many people see Jesus. That kind of freaked me out. I didn't like that, 'cause I was like, okay, maybe I do need to go back to church. But like Jesus could perform miracles. And that makes him very different than a lot of other religious figures. The Buddha, I'm pretty sure the Buddha like couldn't perform miracles. Muhammad could not.
Hmm.
The Prophet Muhammad in Islam could not perform miracles.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm so controversial. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's
Jesus is
cool.
the, but it's real. Like that's a fact. Like people
Hmm.
can get as mad as they want. Jesus. I don't know if he was the only one, but I know Muhammad for sure did not do miracles. Buddha, I don't remember him doing a miracle, but like Jesus would walk into the party and turn water into wine and
Yeah.
touch somebody and they'd be so listening to these near death experiences. And sometimes these people think they're in hell and then they pray to Jesus and it's like Jesus comes out of nowhere and brings them all the way up to heaven. And I'm kind of like, maybe Jesus is some multi-dimensional superhero that is one of the most like ultimate fighting forces to save our souls. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is
When
what happens.
yeah.
I don't even know if I mean, I'm sort of religious. Like, I think it kind of get me now at this point. I'm like, whatever you want to do with me.
Yeah. But when
If I go to hell, I would keep praying to Jesus, please. This worked in a YouTube video for some guy.
you talk to a lot of people that have been, abduction, um, had abduction experiences and things like that. And you hear so often, very often, when you use the name Jesus, that ends it. In a lot of cases, that, some will say is powerful enough to
Mhm.
stop whatever is going on, the attack that's happening.
That's
Um,
interesting.
which is interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing it more. Yeah, after I
Yeah.
saw the NDEs, I was like, that's kind of cool. And I was like, Jesus, come save me. And I was like, oh my God, I feel better. I don't know, man. If stuff, whatever
Yeah.
works for us all to get through another day on this insane planet and to try to survive one
Hmm.
more day in these density, you
Yeah.
know, bodies. But I mean, the reality of life is a little less fantastical,
Hmm.
than that. Reality is
Paying bills
so much
and
bills, death, right? Like
hmm.
bills, like getting sick, and I don't know. Like death
Yeah.
does not look to me in reality what everybody says it is. I'm like, and I really love to believe I turn into a million bajillion stars after I die, and then like I'm like high on mushrooms in the afterlife, and I don't know all the weird things that they say happen after you die, but I don't know. The reality is sometimes I just think you just die and you're gone.
Yeah.
And that's actually a lot creepier. That's
That,
actually the thing that people struggle with the most.
yeah, that's a
Actually,
scary thought, man.
so
Yeah.
much easier to think you're gonna turn into a million doves after you die. I just I don't know. I have trouble seeing it. So a lot of the time when I got started, I thought it was gonna be that if I found out more information about extraterrestrials, then I'd find out more information about death.
Hmm.
But um, I think what it's just taught me is maybe death is just death, right? Like maybe it is just over. I know we were going to talk about aliens, but the
No, it's
NDEs are
cool.
sort of connected to it, right? Like it's
Mhm.
sort of connected to it. But I mean, you have to ask yourself about dualities, right? Like let's ask ourselves about dualities. What's the opposite of dying? Living.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the opposite of death? Life. What does life look like? What does
Mm-hmm.
death look like? I just feel like, and then you lose people you love and you see them. It's like that's reality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's because I've just been trying really hard. Like I'm talking to people who talk to aliens. I'm talking to so I'm trying to base whatever my reality is, and I listen to these NDEs and sometimes all I hear is like, okay, you're getting like the craziest DMT high of your life before you die. It's kind of cool. Nice send out. Maybe it is, all these fireworks and everything. Sorry if I'm saying something offensive. I just
No, not at all. No, no.
because
It's
the
very
aliens made
interesting.
me want to think, yeah, I really thought that I'd get more information and I'd learn that ghosts are aliens and all this stuff. And I don't know. I don't really
It's
think that way anymore.
it's so difficult to find the answers in this field because so many people have these wild experiences and it's a very personal thing. Sometimes they connect and you've heard the same story 100 times before, and I find that very interesting. Sometimes it's completely out there and completely different to what you've heard before, and you're like, oh, and you go down all these different rabbit holes. It's very hard. All you can go on really is what you've experienced. Like you've had some cool experiences that you can't explain. Um, but yeah, it does take you down the rabbit holes, and once you start going down one rabbit hole, there's another 10.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And exactly. There's a lot there. Yeah. And I change my mind daily about everything.
Oh,
So,
same. Yeah,
and
same.
I get a lot of flack for it because they're like, you just go back and forth and back and forth. Like, I
But you're
think
just trying
Will's
to
Sonda
learn.
is a
You're
good
just
one.
trying to learn. You're just trying to find,
Yeah.
and you're just putting it
What's
out
the
there.
answer?
You're learning as you go, which is what I'm doing. And as my opinion changes daily, you know,
Right.
by the time this airs, I could be thinking something completely different. I don't know, but it is. It is.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Me too. So I take back everything I say. I don't know. All I know is I don't know. That's all I
Yeah,
know.
we're learning.
And
We're trying
yeah,
to
and I
learn.
have the 3D world. I have the 3D world I can bring to the public,
Hmm.
right? Like I just talked with Eric Mitchell, who has 4 alien implants, and he's actively looking for a surgeon to take them out. He's actively looking for people to study them. And I find it super difficult because I have friends, like there's the one YouTuber named Alien Scientist, Jeremy Reese. And what he does is he goes and he just does all this sciencey stuff. So if I find like an implant, I'm like, hey dude, do you want to like do it? And sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I think he's interested in these new ones.
Hmm.
I just connecting these people is what the difficulty is.
Yeah.
People with 4 implants in their body want to take them out, want to be studied, don't know how. It's actually harder to do that. Eric was just telling me how hard it is to do that. But it's also kind of like, why is Whitley Strieber, and that's the thing, Tommy, after just feeling like I'm the black sheep of ufology, like not feeling like feeling kind of like, I don't know if it's just because I'm not some dude that wants to talk in the dark. I don't know if it's that they hate the color. I don't know what it is, but I also think it's the dude world, right? Like I get it. Like let's talk about all the things we like, and my woman's this way, and I don't have that because I'm a woman. Like I love my woman. She's so adored sometimes because girls do it too, right? It's just I have girlfriends. I don't have boyfriends, so it's not easy for me to like I'm a girl, right? So it is kind of odd sometimes with that energy because males just like it's hyper dominated.
Hmm.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
But it's
All good.
hyper, hyper male and and that's a good thing, but I think people just they just you know they want I don't know. I don't even know where I was going.
Do you
I
think
just
a
got
little
all
bit is
sidetracked.
because as well, and I think probably the same with Let's Get Freaky is we don't put ourselves in a box. We won't say that this is the answers, this is the direction. I like to think here at Let's Get Freaky, we're open to every possibility, every doorway. Because someone's got a different religion or whatever, I'm not going to turn them off and say, "No, you believe that, so I don't believe what you're saying." I like to think that I'm open to everyone, whatever their, would you say that might be what, what your situation is?
Yeah, I think the longer I've been doing it, and the more connections I've been making with people, and the more they felt like they were broadly making their voice known in the community about like what their opinion is, the more
Hmm.
they've tried to like coerce me to identify with one specific thought.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm very open about the mummies. And so I'll like post something, but I'll get a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, you're such an idiot, Nikki. Like you don't know anything. Do you know nothing about science?" And I'm like, "Actually, I have a master's in library and information science with a concentration in college research. So
Boom.
I think I do."
Mic
But they'll
drop.
always right, but they stereotype and they think they know people, and especially being a woman, like I didn't realize how much it was like this, until I got started. I didn't realize how much because I wouldn't consider myself somebody who was like intimidated by men, but I noticed when I go on podcasts with women, women don't interrupt really as much. Like I interrupt way more than the average woman, but whenever I watch some podcasts, like girls don't really jump in the conversations. It's always like you got to pick it up right at the end. Um, and so I think women are like conditioned to just kind of be that way,
Hmm.
just in general. And even on me when I started podcasting, because I get into debates with people online and I'm pretty sure about the facts I know. And we'd be debating or whatever. And I'd be like, no, dude, moo moo, I think it was, it was this way. And they'd be like, no, it wasn't. That was debunked. And so in the middle of the aired show, I'd be like, okay, maybe they're right. And it will always be a guy. And I'd frequently go back to double check or triple check my research. And I was right. And they were wrong. But in the moment, they tried to be like, you don't know what you're talking about. So it always comes
Wow.
down to two things. Either you're not researching enough,
Hmm.
you don't know enough, or you just can't understand. For men and women, that's not just women. That's usually like where the debate ends. Like you don't know and you're not research. Like if they never come to agreement, right?
Yeah.
Like if they get to the end of the Bob Lazar thing, they're like, you just don't research enough. Really? That's kind of the agree to disagree I've noticed. You don't research enough, or if it's really vile,
Mm.
you can't. You're not cognitively able to understand.
Yeah.
Then it goes to personal insults. Right?
Then it
Research
gets
more.
nasty.
You're
Yeah.
not smart enough, and you're ugly too, right?
Yeah.
That's
I
nothing
mean,
to do with
I get it because
research.
where people involved, there's always going to be, disagreements, gangs, little cliques, which I don't really, and that's with everything, whether it's paranormal, UFOs, whatever sport. But I really try hard not to stay away from that. I'm sure you do as well because I don't like it. I don't like that side of the thing. With the paranormal, which is where we're coming from, is you do get a lot of in-house fighting and people that want, their side is the only way, basically. Like with the Bigfoot, you either got the flesh and blood and the woo, and there's no in between. They hate each other sometimes, which I find crazy. And you just get it
Well,
with
I
people.
yeah. It's also the mix of these ideas. You're very emotional, right? Like it's not, it's like it doesn't just come back to calling somebody ugly, like we were
Mhm.
sort of talking about before we recorded. It sometimes it does, but there's also a basis of like a trigger effect because this person might have said this, and then they're like, but they said they didn't believe in mine, and blah 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 blah. And
Hmm.
it's fine, but it's completely not productive when you're trying to like grow a show. So I'm currently working with a really cool group of people who are starting a UFO network that's also going to be associated with like conferences and stuff. And I've been like kicked out of so many conferences and treated like whatever. It's so many conferences where they're like, get out of here. I don't know. I don't
Wow.
even know what I've done. Like I've tried to be a good person. I apologize for whatever everyone's mad at me about. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But anyway, it's fine. I figured it out. But this is what I found as a solution to what you're saying.
Hmm.
So me and some people who are on Spreaker, some people who have followings outside of YouTube, we're all getting together and we're actually signing a contract. And in the contract, one second, my earbud fell out. In the contract, oh,
Oh no, it's gone.
pause for a second.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no worries. Let's hit the pause button.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. We're back on. The earbud was found and no earbud was hurt.
Oh my gosh.
We're
So
back.
the contract. We were
Yeah.
talking about the contract. Because there has been infighting and it has been problematic because we grow these giant networks and like anybody who watches social media and watches these shows, all the content creators go get put in a house, right? There is a truth to everybody working together as a group. And so the contract that I'm signing with this group of people is that there is no infighting
Hmm.
and you don't talk crap about each other. And
Yeah.
I just put my network thing and we support each other and it's a formal agreement and we will break the formal agreement, once we're not working together anymore. But I like that a lot better because you're saving your audiences from like breaking apart,
Hmm.
and you're getting into
Yeah.
like a formal agreement that like we're it doesn't have to be, but I've had so many friendships that sometimes I'm like, were these friendships based off of friendship or was this based off of growing your podcast?
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of the time, like I honestly sometimes can't tell the difference.
Hmm.
I'm like, wait, it's very strange. People get very egocentric and obsessed with their shows.
Hmm.
A- And sometimes people come out of the woodwork and you're like, wait, why are we that? What? Where did you come from? Right. And then the second something goes wrong, bam, they disappear. Right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so that happens quite frequently. People will, but because of that, right? Like, I don't care if you dislike me. You don't have to be my best friend, but you do have to have my back. And
Yeah.
there has to be a definitive understanding of like this collaboration's over,
Hmm. Yeah.
and just to quietly go your own ways and like So that's kind of the next thing that I've been working with. And I also want to work with podcasters like you and all sorts of different people just in our own network, because we have these redirect links now, which what I was saying about, like with your show. Like, when are you going to be premiering this on YouTube?
So I will put this on YouTube if you don't mind. I normally put the video on. It
Of
normally goes
course.
out on the podcast platforms first, and then a little bit later that day it goes out on YouTube for people to watch. The YouTube's quite a new thing for me, real. I've been doing it for a little while now. I've been putting out videos for a little while, but I'm more was always more about the audio, the podcasts. But now we're going a little bit more into video and doing that side of things as well, which is difficult. But I
Yes.
think it's important as well to have that side of the show.
Well, let me know when you put it out, because if you put it into premiere mode with a live chat show, I can redirect my audience and do like a 30-minute live stream
Oh
before
wow.
yours
Yeah.
goes, and I can
Yeah.
drop all of my friends into your chat.
Wow. Oh, that would be cool. See, I have no idea
Yeah.
how you do stuff like that.
That's why I can't give it up. I'm
Yeah.
like, why would I quit when I know these kinds of things, right? Like, and if
Yeah.
we did that with a bunch of different podcasters, if we created an official network that wasn't full of it,
Yeah. Let's go.
an official, like, but like, people have to, they got to collaborate more, and people
Yeah.
like to kick other people out of the club. Like, I've been kicked out of
Yeah.
clubs,
I don't like
and
that.
that, I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I'll never
just,
do that. Even if I don't
because I,
agree with someone, I would never kick them out and never want their voice not to be heard. Even if I think everything someone is saying is nonsense, I still want their voice to be heard and it should be heard. It's still important. That's what I think.
right, because, and if there's a network of UFO shows that one after the other are redirecting
Hmm.
their audiences consistently, it just needs to be a couple small ones. We don't have to be big. We
Yeah.
could create this role effect between all. Like, I've thought about this, especially with people who I feel like they could have collaborated, but they couldn't do it in a holistic way.
Yeah.
Like throwing stones, like, no, in a holistic way. Like we were saying, like, be on board. If you're gonna
Yeah.
start talking smack, you're out of the network.
Yeah. You got to be
If you're
nice.
gonna start throwing shade, even if it's like, if somebody comes up, they're like, hey, blah blah, well, you're out of the network.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. We don't have time, right? So I don't know if that might be something I work on with this
Yeah.
new
That's cool.
place. But I always, and even not, like, I think that's one way that I've thought for a long time how we could keep things. Because if everybody has a certain time and everybody redirects to everybody else, you're just going to get this
Yeah.
accumulation of more and more viewers. And some of these people who watch the live shows, they watch them all damn day, like me. Like, I'm one
Yeah.
of the live chatters. I watch
Yeah.
them all damn day. I hate it. It's an addiction that I'm
Yeah.
trying to overcome, but like, it's real, and I enjoy it slightly. It's weird.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I think you should do that. You enjoy it. You're learning, and yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But going back to your experience when you had this encounter with you was in the meditation mode and you'd had this experience. Did you see the orb straight after that? Is that what you said?
No.
Ah,
I can give you the time frame. Give me a second
yeah,
here.
that's cool.
I'm popping up the video so I can remember what date it was that I did all that, because that was the first video and I was like, what did I do? Why did I do that? Oldest was 6 years ago. So no, yeah, this was after. So October 7th, 2017 is when I saw the orb, and I
Mhm.
saw the triangular craft in 2013. So that happened 4 years after I saw the triangular craft.
Ah, okay. And was that
So
was
the
that your
triangular
first?
craft in 2013 started it all.
Right, yeah. That was the first
So,
experience.
yes, but aliens are cool. I've been into them. I grew up in New Mexico. This has always kind of
Yeah,
been. And in fact, I used to be scared out of my mind of aliens in the closet until I started doing this.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not scared of aliens at all anymore. I'll go out into the dark and look up. It's just going to CE5 with a bunch of strangers. It's not my thing. But like,
Was
I'll go look up,
was you quite
I'll look
worried
up at
about
the sky.
talking about this sort of stuff? Was you quite worried that you could be inviting some bad energy talking about this sort of stuff? Because I was at the time when I first started.
Well, I don't know. I got so weird, and it was in the pandemic and the lockdown, so my
Mhm.
mentality was all whacked out. So I was like, just abduct me, aliens. Now would be the time to abduct me. I'll just tell everybody on the show tomorrow morning that I was abducted. And then Alien Girl will go straight to the top because I'll be an abductee. I'm like all about it. You would think it would bring more in, that I would be getting more and receiving more and seeing more and getting more downloads. But it's appeared to shift in that regard. Like it appears reality is a little bit more intense for me.
Hmm.
Um, so if I saw something today in the sky, just because of all the stuff that has happened over the last 5 years, especially the shoot downs over Alaska,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then them saying that they're just balloons, but them calling them UFOs. That was so strange. Why are you calling them UFOs?
Yeah.
Why
That
can't
was
you just say there's
wild.
some aerial craft flying around? Don't call them UFOs. You triggered everyone in America and you knew it. They knew it. That
Yeah.
was such a psyop. They knew it all over the world. Triggered
Yeah.
everyone all over the world to think that there were flying saucers over Alaska. Why did you use the word UFO? That's the dumbest thing ever. So
Yeah.
when things like that happen, like if I were to go out today and see something in the sky similar to what I saw in 2017, which is the light with the meditation, um it'd be really hard for me. But I see a lot of stuff in the sky. So I see, shooting stars. I see sorts of things. I don't know. So it's hard
Yeah.
for me to say.
That
So
experience that you had when you first saw the triangle UFO, had you experienced anything before that? Like growing up as a kid, had you had any possible paranormal experiences? Or was that the first
yes.
sort? Oh, you did.
Yes.
Can we hear
Yes.
that?
Yes. So when I was 12 years old, I was sitting in my room and I saw a giant white light that exploded and it freaked me out. So I ran to my mom and dad's room. I couldn't go to bed. I was so freaked out. And then, like a year later, my grandma died.
What a year to that day.
Um, a year to that date, yeah. So a year later, my grandma died after that, on that exact date. Um, and it was like a family event. Like it freaked everybody out. Everybody was woke up. I was so alarmed by what I had seen that it woke up everybody in the house. And my sister went to bed that night. She said she had a dream and explained to me what she saw in her dream, and it was exactly um what I had seen. Also, at a young age, I would go to summer camp for like a month. And so I'd make friends with people, never saw their house. But after, and I've lost this ability as I've gotten older, but it was really big when I was young, especially made it very obvious when I was there at the summer camp. Like when I got to know my friends after 2 weeks, I could explain the way their house looks to details of flowers on the wall, on the wallpaper. Right. Like I would be like, oh, I know that like in your living room, your parents have this vase filled with glass beads. Like I could do that when I was younger. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I don't think I have that anymore, but like this is what I'm saying when it's important to sit down and like rationally discuss what's going on, right? Like what
Mhm.
is actually, like that was a real thing.
Yeah.
That
So you
happened.
you
Like
could
that
see people's layouts and how without going there.
yeah, I visualize it
Wow.
hardcore.
And you get
Hmm.
it right. They'd be like, yeah, that's right. Wow.
Yeah. Back then I'd get it right, not anymore.
How can
There's
you
too much
how can you
adultness
explain
in my
that?
head.
How can you explain that? I mean, that is
Intuitiveness.
yeah.
Intuition, the
Was
life
that
force, the
would you say
connection. Like I know you, you know me. Like you know when someone's it hasn't been scientifically discovered yet, but I really hope people do this study, which is where it has to do with text messaging, because I actually think that's the key to figuring out telepathy is the internet and everything like this. But we all know we're not cyborgs yet. We will be in 100 years, right? We'll have like now the stuff in our face and stuff to be able to technologically do our thing. But right now we're organic beings,
yeah.
which shows a lot about what we can learn about ourselves connecting with this technology, because whatever we're doing organically is actually intrinsically within us as a human.
Mhm.
So how many times are you thinking about somebody and 5 seconds later they've texted you and you haven't
Yeah.
talked to them for 6 months? Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yeah, so many times. Yeah. You'll have a dream about someone. There's someone's random from your school days that you never think about, and you'll dream about this random person. You're like, why am I dreaming about him? Like, I'm not even, wasn't even a great friend at school. And then the next day they'll message you on Facebook or something. Stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
weird.
That happened to me just yesterday because I was like about to send a TikTok to somebody and I was like, I don't even do that. I'm not like one of these people that just sends TikToks like my friend. And then I hadn't heard from my friend in weeks and she texted me a TikTok, right?
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, weird.
Yeah.
But that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, it's all in alignment.
Hmm.
We all are affecting each other. We're all on a crazy energy grid, right?
Yeah.
And it's all just about, I guess, connecting to the most beneficial one. I think there's a lot of healing that can take place within humanity in general. So maybe there's a way in this phenomenon that we can get in touch with this healing. I think the 5D and the 3D aspects of it, there's a healing that needs to come to humanity because the aliens sure don't want to talk to us openly.
Hmm.
We're not worth their time to come if they're zipping around. We're not worth their time,
Yeah. Yeah.
to come talk to us. And for good reason. Like we're sending like I don't, I think that it's sad that we live in this world where no one takes the personal responsibility of bombing children. The person who drops the bomb doesn't blame themselves
Hmm.
for the bomb exploding and the children dying. They don't blame themselves. They blame somebody else. Somebody else.
Just
Somebody
following
else.
orders. Yeah. Just following
Just
orders.
following orders, but like if you're the one, this is where humanity comes in and it's so easy. People really need to think what they're doing. Just because you're the ones putting them in the oven and pushing the button doesn't mean you're not guilty.
Hmm.
And that's the healing that needs to be addressed. Like, in what world are we pushing buttons and killing children, people, honest human beings? In what world are we doing that
It's
and
scary.
not taking responsibility? And then we're all crying that the children are dying. But like, do you remember when you pushed the button? That wasn't you, right? Like, and I understand you're in the military and we get trained to do things when we're in the military to do exactly, but that's a human problem.
Hmm.
That's a human problem that we can push a button and not be like, I understand that you're taking orders and we're taking orders and we got to take orders to protect whatever, but like, no, take a moment. This will kill children. You're the one pushing the button. Are you okay with that? And I don't know. I've never been at war. I can't say. I don't know. I'm just a little human. Maybe that is the way it is, but I don't think it has to be. I
Hmm.
think that's a healing issue in humanity. Nobody wants to see children get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people need to just constantly reflect on it. I understand that when we're in the military, we have to take orders, but is your job really worth it? Maybe it is worth it to go be in jail because you didn't take that order. Have the other freaking guy push the button.
Mm.
He can have that on his conscience, instead of at the end of your life being like, should I have pushed that button?
Yeah.
It was so sad. I saw all the photos of those children who died from the button I pushed. It wasn't my fault. At one point, do you, you're like, God, I pushed that.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I shouldn't have
It's.
pushed that button.
I mean, I've got respect for people that go into the military, but I feel like we're in a different. The world that we're in now is more aware that I think anyway that wars are not right. Whatever side you're on, it's not right to kill people, young people. Yeah, it's not right to kill anyone. I know there's some bad people out there that maybe have got to be dealt with. That I'm not, saying that we shouldn't look after ourselves and stuff, but for innocent people to get it's most people can see that that's not right. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think everyone does. That's what's so weird
Yeah,
about it. Like I don't think there's one person on this planet that thinks it's like
yeah.
good. And that's where it's weird. Like what's going on in society?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm
They're
not a
talking
counter. I
about
don't know. I'm
they're talking about national service here in the UK, and it's only a talking point at the moment. It's not been implemented. Hopefully, it won't be because I don't agree with it. But they're talking about putting at 18, like we used to back in the day. The kids are going to go in the military for service for a year or whatever it is. I'm not sure the exact, but they're talking about maybe just weekends or whatever. But I don't agree with it, and I think that's a sign that maybe they know that the next generations coming up are not going to want to go to war. They're not going to want to fight because the world getting a bit hippie again, but the world seems to be, we're a lot more closer the world is we're more closer now than, I'm talking to you in another country, but we're in the same place, if that makes sense.
Oh,
The
yeah.
world is a
Like,
lot
and
more closer now.
it's universal. We need to protect every child on this planet, regardless.
100%, 100%.
There
Yeah.
should, if one child is affected from our adult toxicity, that is a failure as
Yeah.
humanity, in my opinion.
100%.
I
I
get
agree.
it. Kill me in a bomb, throw me, leave the kids. I'm
Yeah.
old, whatever. I've lived a good little life, but give those children, every child on this planet should not have to ever have to worry about that. Like
Yeah.
that
100%.
that should be like, I just stop,
Yeah.
Like at least give them a heads up. I
Mm.
d- and I don't know how war works. Like, do they give them a heads up to be like, they don't give them a heads up that they're gonna bomb them.
Yes.
It's just so, like there's no.
They say that there's warnings and stuff, but just get out of certain areas and stuff like that. But
And everybody just loves
man,
their children so
yeah,
much,
of
and you
course.
would
Yeah.
think it would be like this obvious thing, but
Mm.
and on top of it, then we're sending the 18-year-olds who, the older I get, look like kids to me. So,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They are kids. Yeah, for sure. I mean, at 18, I was still, you know, I was very young.
dude,
I wasn't really 8. I was a lot
dude, I know,
younger than
right?
my age. Even at 25, I was still a kid, really. you know, and I had a kid at that time. But yeah, it's yeah, it's well, we've got deep. We have got deep. Got into war. Oh, you've gone quiet. You've muted yourself.
I do think it has to
She's
do with
back.
the aliens, do. I do think it has to do with the aliens. Like, I think it comes back to the maternal thing saying, show them love. We love the children.
Yeah, yeah.
We love the children. Why are we letting this happen? And
Hmm.
maybe part of this whole starseed 5D thing is about just realizing that, like, we're not alone in the universe, right? Like,
Yeah,
we've got some extensive healing to do on this planet, and it probably does have to relate to the nuclear warfare.
yeah,
If that's when it all started happening, when we started the nukes, the UFOs started popping up,
yeah, yeah.
you
Is
know?
it
We're just
1947?
we
Is that
Yeah.
that's the date that they say?
Trinity, New Mexico, here in Nuevo Mexico, where I'm at.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so, I think that has to do with it. I think they know we're gonna blow ourselves up. I think they're like analyzing us, trying to figure it out. Like, we're this beautiful planet and there's over 8 billion of us. Like, it would be very sad if we kept this toxicity up, this like legitimizing and rationalizing of being okay with children not being safe. Like,
hmm,
what, like we see it in, like, I don't watch the news anymore because it's just happening every single day. Every single day there's children being killed overseas. I'm sorry, I don't mean to go crazy. This has to do from a cosmic perspective as well. Like,
hmm.
if we don't, we're so myopic, is that the word, when we're living as a human, and just in our own lives in general, to even think about the great expanse of the universe and to think how precious life is, and that we just like freaking disregard it.
Yeah,
Like, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with
100%.
that. And I think life is incredibly rare.
Hmm.
And I think that if these aliens have found us, um, they want to help us. They want to make sure that, like if all of us became extinct and there's only a handful of us left and we found another planet with 8 billion people like us, we'd want to make sure that kept going, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, life is awesome. Like, if there's people who can actually be aware and want to like grow and do things, it probably, it's something that we'd want to preserve. And so that's the thing. I think life, like in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Yeah.
And I think something about humans and something about these guys visiting us, whoever these guys are, popping in interdimensionally, dropping by. And I don't think it's, people don't like, I mean, I think the classic abduction is just that you get taken, you get put on a medical bed, they poke and prod you, get some information, release you. You don't really remember it. You feel like you're sort of in a dream state, and then you're gone. Like, honestly, it sounds like catch and release. That's
Yeah,
exactly what catch and release sounds
yeah,
like.
yeah, for
And
sure.
if we were to flip the tables and there were 200 of us spacefaring humans going to another planet with 8 billion of us, we really feel bad about taking one and prodding them and
Oh,
putting
oh,
them under anesthesia and then throwing them back. No, we wouldn't
yeah.
care. We didn't kill them. We didn't kill them. We just put an implant in them. No,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's how they're
100%.
seeing it. And on a greater ethical level, like what's wrong with that?
Mhm.
Yeah, are the abductees traumatized? Totally, completely. But on an ethical level, if we were to flip it, like how else are we supposed to learn about each other? I don't know. It's very
Yeah,
strange, but I think I could see us doing that to um other entities, other
yeah,
people on other planets. I
yeah,
don't
for
even like
sure.
calling them aliens because one day we're going to learn that there's people just like you and I on some alien internet on a different
Yeah.
planet and they breathe carbon dioxide instead of oxygen and right like and
Yeah.
I just get the feeling that a lot of them are like us, like bipedal. I don't think there's like giant oozes of like intelligent life. I think intelligent life looks like this. I
Mhm.
think we were seeded. I think the magnificence of what we are on this planet is rare. And so I don't I think 8 billion of us is just way too many for us to not be noticed in this giant universe. Like you get a techno signature from our planet, we're gonna be bopping, dude. We got
Mhm.
so much vibes coming off this planet. They're picking it up. They're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
You kidding me? You
Let's
thought
go
we were too
there.
far away? And we're like, what? We're getting this vibe, this signal, this signal. It looks like they even like are building skyscrapers and like
Mhm.
they might have all sorts of different ways. All it
Yeah.
takes is a little, and it might just be that they're sending robots that are the grays out here to do the investigating, which is why they would be unemotional, which is why they wouldn't care
Yeah.
so much, right? But like we're interesting, and we're unique, and there is nothing out there that we found like us. And like we're talking about this duality that like I've been experiencing, if there really is no other extraterrestrial life out there, if we go to this planet and find that we're like pretty freaking alone, well, damn, we need to make more humans and put them on other planets as soon
Yeah.
as possible, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then civilizations die and histories die, and the next thing you know, like you don't remember your past. The first thing the colonists did when they entered the Aztec, I think Incan civilization before they dominated them is they burned their libraries. So they burned down their histories, right? Like we don't, why is it that we don't remember anything of our past?
Yeah.
So I think humans have probably been seeded just because we're so unique and magnificent. There wouldn't be 8 billion of us if we weren't this unique and magnificent. Like we've been created before. Somehow we've been able, like this has happened before on different planets. And like if the world was ending and all of us were going to die, like surely we'd take a couple humans or something,
Go
to
somewhere
straight
else.
shot or
Yeah.
like a one-celled organism, something we can make up to freaking start. Like it would be like get something on a rocket and send this genetic material here and hopefully it creates something. Like there would be last options to try to keep life going because that's just how human life is, how whole life is,
Yeah.
right? Like I just think it's strange to think that we're completely alone. I think we've been put up on all sorts of different planets. I think we are, and in a lot of ways I feel like we're being grown because there are so many of us. I feel like we're being preserved. I think that we're being protected, and sometimes that makes sense, especially when you think of species who might be like thousands and thousands and millions of years old. Like we're
Yeah.
like probably being protected. The fact that there's 8 billion here and we haven't been hit by an asteroid and a lot of this, like, I mean, that's pretty damn lucky.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of like that. I just think that's for something as rare as life that we can't find next door. It's strange that there's 8 billion of us just right here.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And we're in
So
the
I mean,
perfect spot. We're in the perfect spot. We've got the
yeah,
perfect moon.
yes.
We've got the perfect sun. We're in that perfect, what a coincidence,
Gold the Goldilocks zone,
The
right.
Goldilocks
Which is
zone.
what they
Yeah.
look which is what they look at on other solar systems to see if there could be an Earth there. And if we know about the Goldilocks zone, other people know about the Goldilocks zone that aren't on Earth,
Hmm.
right? Other
Yeah.
people. I don't see, and that's the thing. Like, are they that if I feel like calling them people the longer I get into it, because if we want to make a connection, right?
Hmm.
And I also feel like I really love that movie Interstellar
Yeah.
because we were also talking about like love at the beginning of this and love being what drives you to get to like where you're going. And you know, she's in love with the scientist, and I don't know if you've seen it, but the point being is like love will bring us to where we need to be, right? The love of our significant other, the love of our mother, of our children, of our friends. Like if they need us, we will be there somehow,
Mhm.
right? And you just feel it in your body.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's going on right now. We know they're out there. We know they're somewhere. And it's just kind of like we're constantly feeling like we're trying to find this long lost love. And I think it's and this actually kind of goes to my whole like I don't think I believe in the afterlife anymore. Oh, sorry guys. But I do believe in the energetic force of life. And so I think that energetic force of life on another planet is constantly pinging us. Like those text messages we get, right? And it's like it feels
Mhm.
like it's telepathic. You're like, oh, you know, Jake texted me. I was thinking on him 5 minutes ago. I think there's this incredibly life force pull between these two, us and the other entities on this planet. And I don't even know if they can make contact or not, but there is an incredible pull. And that's how we know we're not alone.
Yeah.
Just from that alone. I don't know how to explain it, but
Interesting.
like yeah, like there's people out there like you and I on another planet having this conversation. I sincerely believe that. And that's what a lot of people think is so sensational about the things that I say is like, no, I
No.
don't think our conversation's unique. I think there's another planet. I think they probably have video or something similar to this. I think they probably have entertainment and they're wondering the same thing, right? Like
Mhm.
similar to somebody who's like looking for their true love, right? Like where do I find them? I don't know how. Like you constantly feel like where are they at if you haven't found them yet? Right? And then you find them. And I think that we're trying to connect to that life force on other planets the best we can. And that's how we know we're not alone.
Mhm.
Even the smartest people in society right now will admit, including Mick West, I've got him to tweet it to me and retweet. He says he believes that, yeah, there's something out there. It's mathematically impossible for us to not be alone, which also means, Tommy, it's mathematically impossible for this conversation to not happen on some other planet right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Super interesting. I mean, some people even say that me and you, like as we are now, could be having this exact conversation somewhere out there. I mean, that's another rabbit hole to go down. But that we're, there's different versions of us out there. It's wild. It's wild what the possibilities could be. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I feel that drive. I feel that connection to something
Hmm.
out there, and I think of them. I think of them frequently
Hmm.
because it's like screaming over a giant expanse of a desert to be like, I know you're there. And then like this feeling that there's just this like this steel door wall that I can't penetrate to get through to them.
Hmm.
And they're trying to, right? Like it's just like when you're trying to find your karmic partner, whatever. It's such a hippie. But like, right, it's just like this constant, and we can't, and I think every human feels this though. Like there's this vibration of this other species, this extraterrestrial species. Here's
Hmm.
us. We all are feeling it. Everybody on planet Earth is feeling about it. You're talking about it. I'm talking about it. They're feeling it. We're trying to find each other. This is what it feels like to try to find each other
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
making the next generation soar, like me and you, letting our kids know, hey, we got like my kid knows all about the alien stuff. It doesn't freak her out at all. It's possible, right? What are we gonna do? Oh, the aliens are angels. That's all that's gonna happen. I already talked to my mom-in-law about it. She's like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The angels are aliens. I'm just like, what is this? Like the super religious people I know always change it up. I'm like, oh, what do you think about the UFOs? And this one guy was like, "Oh, it's not true." And I'm like, "Well, no. Did you see what happened on the news recently?" Because I always love to shake feathers. I guess this is why I'm crazy. And he was like, what?" Right? Super know-it-all guy. And I was like, "Look, I just don't think it's cool that you're acting this way. I have friends who are active abductees and they struggle with trying to share their story, you know?" And I was like, I think you should do some research into it. And the next day he's like, I looked into it. Ezekiel's wheels in the Bible. We've always known. And I was like, you prick. Because people will never admit that they're like, unlike me, who'll be like, I don't know if I had a meditation with an alien, Tommy. I don't know if I saw an orb. There are a lot of people out there who will get on shows and be like, Tommy, the alien told me exactly. And I saw the craft 100%. I can't definitively say that on any of it,
Hmm.
and I could take that straight to the top. But it's very obvious when people lie, at least I can tell very quickly in this field when people are lying. I've gotten really good at picking out who's lying and who's not, but there are some definitive, and so I've gotten good at vetting my guests too,
Hmm.
right? Like I had people in the beginning who like they were smirking and laughing throughout the whole thing, and I was letting people tell me abduction stories that like that's not legit. It's not legit to tell me that you were partying with your boyfriend and you saw something that looked like a laser pointer go across your apartment, and then you passed out and woke up the next day and had missing time. That's not a legit abduction experience. I'm sorry. It's fine. They can call me if they want to talk about it. Okay. My
Yeah.
phone number, they've got it. They've got my number. Just text me. But you got to think about what you're saying. You also can't be saying, oh, I was sitting in my bed one day and then bam, I realized I was on a spaceship once. That doesn't work that way either. So the people I go and I vet to bring on to talk about, I vet them because I have been tricked.
Hmm.
And it disgusts me when I go back and I look at some of these interviews I did and how kind and open-minded and receiving I am to their stories, only to look back and be like, I think this person totally lied to me. And in fact, like, I, like it's very easy. And I'll just give you this since, I don't know. How long you been doing your show for?
I am coming up to 2 years.
So you've been doing it for 2 years, right?
Hmm.
How many abductees have you interviewed?
Oh, quite a few, I would say. I don't know the exact number, but quite a few.
Yeah. See, now I'm bad. I'm like, they're all.
That's cool.
Here's what I've noticed. It's
Hmm.
fine, but it's like, it's kind of like, you know what? Fine. You're not going to let me be part of the ufology community. I'll tell exactly to the ufology community what I think. I'm at the border of just making tons of hysterical videos about what I think and just getting really satirical about things because I've just become really cynical about a lot of it. And, what's the point in trying to be on everybody's side if they're not going to be on your side anyway? Like, like we were saying, anyway, but yeah, it's all kind of like a mess. Anyway, I don't even know where it's going. I rant so much.
It's
Thanks
cool.
for listening
No,
to me. But I am a good listener. So when
no,
you come on my show, I know how to stop talking, but like
I,
if you ask me to talk, I don't stop. But like if it's like dual, it's like then I
yeah.
stop and I listen. You should watch my little interviews. I'm very listening
No, it's
because
cool.
I talk about
I find
myself.
it
So I was
very
like, oh,
I find different opinions and whatever it is, I find it interesting. I find your opinions very interesting, and you're making a lot of sense what you're saying. And I find it I'm very interested in what you're saying. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of abductees, and I like to whenever someone comes on the show, it's their episode. I'll hear anyone's. There's not been any time where I've gone, I don't believe this person. I'm sure I've been lied to, but it's difficult. It's very difficult with this in this
all
field.
the all the people who I say I don't believe in, they know I don't believe in their story and they have a way to contact me.
Hmm.
So if you've been on my show and you're thinking, oh, is Nikki talking about me? I'm probably not. You know,
Yeah.
if I don't believe in your story and if this conversation upsets you and you're watching it, please reach out. You already know how to reach out to me.
Hmm.
But there are a couple telltale signs that I think I see in people because children smile a lot when they lie. That's something that becomes very apparent. And I've worked with kids quite a bit, and and kids, they just are humans, right? They just
Hmm.
act like humans, and adults aren't any different. So when I notice with people who I don't believe, they kind of like it seems like they're laughing and they
Okay.
smile a lot and they laugh a lot. And I didn't notice this in
Oh
interviews
man,
when I was doing them.
I'm a
I
smiler.
didn't notice it in interviews.
I'm a
No,
smiler.
but are you an abductee?
No, no. I've seen UFOs. I've seen UFOs and weird things in the sky. That's for sure. But I've not, as far as I know,
Yeah.
I've not.
But I hold their everybody who's come on my show who shared their experience, you know I believe you. You know I support you. Angeli, I do believe you're talking to extraterrestrials. I do. I believe you.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of power to those words. I believe you. I believe. There's a lot of power to those words, I believe. But I also think it's important to like start calling out BS sometimes. Um, because there's not a lot of that either. And I get in trouble because I'm like, I don't think crop circles are real. But, I think some people have been abducted. But like I'm gonna make a whole after I finish this whole UFO Twitter, a UFO subculture. That's the next project I'm gonna work on is crop circles. Um, because I think a lot of those are just beautiful artistic designs created by a group of croppers in Wilshire who have already openly discussed that they make a lot.
I'm not far from there. I'm close to that.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I'm near Stonehenge. I'm not
That's
too far from Stonehenge, and I'm about an hour from Stonehenge. I'm quite close.
no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Come
So,
now you're gonna be in the documentary.
yes. Let's go.
Wait, go back. This is great. Okay, so things are see, this is how it always happens in ufology for me. I always end up seeing that's part of that telepathic communication and stuff and like part of the creative journey. That's so funny. I've been kind of manic about crop circles the last few days. What is your take on these crop circles in Wilshire? Any like I've been told I've got documentation, I've got letters from people who've been in the croppers, like
Mhm.
or is this just am I being mean saying that crop circle season's fake
I don't know. I
and
mean,
not created by aliens?
I've seen. Have you seen? There's a video, and again, very hard to tell with videos, but there is a video of a guy, and I should know more about it, but I don't. This is all I know. A guy was filming a field. A light came, you know, shot over the field, and all of a sudden there was this crop circle there. That was an interesting video. I don't know how if it's real or not. I don't know, but I
Can
find
I interject?
yeah, go yeah.
It wasn't.
Oh no,
I can find you the information. I know
really?
which one you're talking about, the golden orbs, and
That's
then they
it.
all kind of
That's it.
flatten.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually created by the croppers, the cropper group in Wilshire.
really.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't feel good, does it?
no, it doesn't feel good,
I know
man.
the feeling, man. I loved it. I used to look at crop circles and be like, oh, but now I have a whole new understanding. And I still love crop
Mm,
circles, but like in a spiritual way, not like in an
yeah.
aliens created these. I don't know, make up all sorts of
So
stuff. But
do
yeah,
you
that
know
one's
the
fake. And the
group?
guy who created it came up and said that, yeah.
Really? So you've actually talked to the guy that can create these.
No, it was on a network channel. They covered it and he was like, I'm a cropper. That was fake. I filmed it. I did CGI for it. I'll find the and I'll send it your
Oh
way.
man, because some of
I
these
thought
crop
that was real for the
circles, they're
longest time.
so amazing. Like I don't know how people would do that. I'm sure there is ways. I'd look at them and I'm like, that's so amazing and it's so perfect. How can that not be something from outer space? You know? But
And I've got
obviously,
yeah, and I've got deep into it because there's this one lady named the Mystery Decoder on YouTube, and I used to watch her stuff. And holy moly, I think these crop circles predicted historical things. Like either these crop circle people are, but they could also be communicating with aliens and creating crop circles, right? Like there's a whole other dimension. But if you're out there, man, like I, yeah, there's people I'm trying to track down out there who I think are, it's okay to make these crop circles. It's okay. Like, we just have to be honest. Like, if you're communicating with extraterrestrials and then going out in the middle of the night and making a crop circle because that's the geometric
mhm,
design that you were given, that's cool. But but I've got blueprints that people have created for these crop circles. I've got letters from people who created them. He said we got like a whole group of people. We go out during crop circle season. And basically at the end of it, at the end of at least Chris Fowler, that's who I work with this, he's given me all this information because he did a huge deep dive on it.
mhm.
Um, I don't know.
But
It's so interesting. It's so interesting. I love crop circles,
yeah,
but like, there has to be a moment where we don't just say everything's real. Like if we believe in crop circles, believe in crop circles. Take a crop circle soil sample, take a sample of the stock. Like it's cool to live in the 5D, but let's go to the 3D. Like we will prove it if we have 3D stuff.
Mhm.
But, you know, I the
Just
older I get, the more I think that the crop circles are probably just created by some hippies. That's for
oh
sure.
man, man, just being devil's advocate.
Yeah, do it. Do it. I
Could
live in devil's advocate world.
could some of these people coming out saying that they're creating the crop circles and things like that, could they be psyops? Just what do you think? Could it be that
Um,
they don't want us to know that, like it feels like with our governments and whoever's running the world don't want us to be spiritually connected with uh whatever these things are. Do you agree that that could be?
yeah. Yeah, and I only have about a few more minutes, but
Yeah, that's
for the
cool. That's
psyop
cool.
with the crop circles, the
Yeah.
psyop with the crop circles. I think I don't think so. I think it's
Hmm.
hippies. I
Okay.
think hippies are to blame for a lot of things in the world, especially crop circles, which is fine. I like crop circles and we could talk about that all day long. I think the biggest psyop going on right now is I think the biggest psyop going on right now is the alien thing. Sometimes I think the alien narrative is the psyop, right? Like I'm pushing the psyop. Like maybe I've been brainwashed by the psyop of aliens. Maybe none of this is real because as I dig deeper, it appears a lot of these abductions are more human related. Like a lot more people see humans, a lot more people feel like I had Tom Reed on, and he was abducted during the Berkshire UFO incident in the 60s. He's been on all these big shows. He was on the recent Unsolved Mysteries Netflix. Good friend, cool person. Um, but even he says he thinks that they were human involved.
Interesting.
I don't know what the psyop is. I think the psyop was in our face when they said that there were the UFO shoot downs in Alaska. I
Hmm.
think that is probably the closest I'll get an understanding as to what kind of psyop they're doing. But like I said, why are they telling the American people that UFOs are being shot down over Alaska? You're telling us that flying saucers are being shot down over Alaska. That's what you're telling us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that's
That
a psyop.
that was wild. That whole week when you was hearing another thing's been shot down, and it just went mad for a week, you know. And I'm sure there was another story they didn't want us to hear about, and that might be why they was throwing that out there. But um, yeah, wild, absolutely wild. Nikki, I've loved talking to you. I know you've got to go, but thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, we can do this many more times. I'm looking forward to coming on your show.
Yeah, me
Can you
too.
tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can Google me or look at me for Alien Girl 111. And if you want to see all of my interviews, just go ahead and YouTube search the Nikki Star Child show, and you can see all of my interviews. And if you want to watch my daily show, Alien Girl 111.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, if you've enjoyed it, please share the show where you can. We're going to be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe. Nikki, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. See you
Thank
later,
you. Thank you
guys.
for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you.